Hello, and welcome to the Elks National Veterans Service Commission Veterans Chair Training. Thank you so much for signing up and taking on this role within your state. We're so happy to have you. I'm just going to go over a few things about your new role and what the resources we have available and what we expect from you. So here at the Elks National Veterans Service Commission office in Chicago, we consider it our mission to make your life easier. We want to provide all the funding, all the resources, all the information. We want to handle the administration so that you and your volunteers can spend as much time as possible actually on the ground serving veterans in your community. So a little bit about our programs. I'm sure you're already familiar with what we do, so I'm just going to breeze past this. As you'll see, our budget is pretty spread out between different programs. Welcome Home Kits, emergency assistance, voluntary service, freedom grants. Those are our biggest programs. I'm going to spend most of the time today talking about voluntary service because that is our program that engages a huge number of volunteers and what we could most use your help with. You'll notice that this doesn't include anything about the Community Investments Program that is run by the Elks National Foundation, but I mention it because it is a great way for lodges to fund veterans service activities in the community. So please take a look at that. The guiding principles of our programs are here courtesy of two previous Veterans Service Commission members. So the first one is, while there are so many veterans in need, our program should really focus on serving those veterans. And so that means we want to prioritize veterans who really need help. That would be veterans who need help seeking health care, seeking community connection, veterans, that are food insecure, veterans who are unhoused. Since there is such a need out there, we want to make sure we're helping the folks who really need it most. And the second thing here is that we want to invest in and expand programs that Elks administer and control. And so that means programs like the Voluntary Service Program. That means programs like Welcome Home Kits, things that our Elks members are actually hands-on and doing in the community. Now there are wonderful organizations out there that lodges can make monetary donations to, and we realize that sometimes that is a very valuable thing to do. But what we want to prioritize are the programs that are Elks led and that Elks are working on. So that's what we'll talk about today as well. As State Veterans Chair, there's a few responsibilities that we have for you. The big one is to manage the Elks Voluntary Service Program in your state. We could also use your help getting recognition for State Veteran Volunteer of the Year winners every year. And spreading the word about service to veterans and our programs for veterans in your state. We can provide brochures, information, materials, program statistics, anything that you need for this to present at state conventions, district meetings, anything like that. Another thing that I don't have listed here is annually we have a training at the Elks National Convention for all of our state veterans chairs. This is strongly encouraged, but not required. And what we do is we'll fly you in, we'll pay for your travel, we'll pay for 2 nights hotel, and we'll get all of the veterans chairs from around the country in one room together. We'll talk about our programs. But one big thing that we want to do is get all of you together to really share your expertise, your programs, your experiences, so we can all make sure that we're all working to improve our programs and that we're making things better for veterans all the time. So a little bit about Veteran Volunteer of the Year. In December of every year, we start publicizing this program. We'll encourage Elks members to send nominations for the State Veteran Volunteer of the Year into you. And we help spread the word by putting it on our website. We send an email to all exalted rulers. We post a story online, put it in our emails. We ask people to send names and nominations to you by January 31st. And then you or a selection committee in your state will review the submissions and choose 2 winners. Ideally, this is a man or a woman, a man and a woman, but it can be any 2 winners. If you have 2 women one year, 2 men another year, that's fine with us. We just want to make sure that volunteers are getting the recognition that they deserve. So send those names in to us by February 28th when you have them, and we'll send out the award packages. Now, if you don't have them by February 28th and you have them a little later, please still send them. We can be flexible. We want to make sure that your volunteers get this. And then, of course, the Elks Voluntary Service Program. We call this the cornerstone of our programming. One reason is because it's so long-standing. Our program is based off of the VA Voluntary Service Program, which began in 1946, and the Elks became participants in that program in 1948. So we were one of the very first organizations to really jump on board. Then, of course, we expanded the idea to station volunteers at non-VA facilities. But through this program, volunteers are nominated by you. They are certified by our office. We provide them with information and training, and then they also undergo any required training at the local level. So maybe the VA wants them to, take a TB test. Maybe the State Veterans Home wants them to undergo a quick training about best practices for, serving the veterans who live there. And then, of course, we send monthly stipends to all of the volunteers for this program to your state level, and then you send them out to the volunteers individually. So, as I said, this isn't just in VA medical centers, although VA medical centers and state veterans homes really make up the bulk of this program. That being said, we do station representatives and deputy representatives in other types of facilities. Including outpatient clinics that are run by the VA. We have some volunteers at Fisher houses. We have some volunteers at a rehabilitation clinic or a PTSD clinic or vet centers. So we want to make sure that this program is being responsive to veterans and is providing support to them wherever they seek care, whether that's at a VA or another facility. So we call the main volunteers for this program voluntary service representatives. This varies a little bit across the country. Some people call them hospital chairs. Some people will call them a district chair. Sometimes people will bundle this up and make sure that they're also the Lodge Veterans Chair. A quick note that this is a separate position from the Lodge Veterans Chair. The voluntary service representative is certified at a very specific facility. The funds that we send are just to go to serve the veterans at that facility. A lot of folks who have this position will also be their Lodge Veterans Chair and will be responsible for veterans event at the lodge and the community, but those are technically separate titles. So what we expect from a voluntary service representative is to visit at least once a month and spend time with the veterans, make sure that they're speaking to veterans and to the staff, to kind of figure out what the needs are. And this will vary by facility. Some places will have, lots of folks who want to make monetary donations, but nobody who wants to host activities at the facility, right? And some places will have all of the hygiene supplies they need, but they could really use some new clothes for veterans who come by. So it's important to stay connected to the folks on the ground so you can really figure out what is most useful for the veterans there. This person should spend the funds carefully and keep track of their receipts. They should work well with others. That means others at their lodge so they can recruit volunteers. It means you can ask the community for donations when you need them. It means you need to keep a good relationship with the facility staff because they are the individuals who control our access to those veterans. They also need to complete a monthly online report, just letting us know what they did and what they spent funds on that month. Also deputy representatives. We want every large facility to have at least one deputy representative. A couple reasons. One, they can help the representative assist with activities, maybe host their own activities. They can build support from the lodge. They can cover for the representative when they're out of town. They can access the voluntary service account to make sure that those funds aren't lost when, say, somebody transfers lodges or leaves the Elks or something. It's also good to keep your volunteers from burning out. Once you have a good volunteer, you want to keep them happy, you want to keep them fulfilled, but not overwhelmed so that they can stay for a few years. And this position, the deputy representative position, can be really helpful in other ways. Often it's a good training for somebody that might take over when the representative steps down. Alternatively, if there's somebody who's been a representative for a long time and maybe they don't have the time or energy to do everything they used to do, they can step down to be a deputy representative and somebody else can come in. So when you're proposing a new facility, we recommend that there should be a rep and a dep at that place, especially if it's a large facility. Some smaller places might not need to, but we do prefer it. A quick note about our volunteers at VA facilities, which is a large number of these volunteers. They are required to attend quarterly VAVS meetings. A lot of times you can call into these meetings. They might have a conference call line set up. If they don't, our volunteers can ask for it. The reason these are important is obviously so you can know what's going on at the hospital, what the events are coming up, what kind of support is needed. You don't want to go buy a bunch of food for the food pantry. If the American Legion is already handling that, maybe you could provide something else that's needed. So it's good for coordination. But also if a volunteer is not attending these meetings, they can be removed by the VA. And making sure that we're on these facilities also gives us a voice at the national level. The Elks are on the National Advisory Committee for the VA Voluntary Service Program. And the reason that is because we have so many volunteers. But if these volunteers don't go to quarterly VAVS meetings, they don't get recorded as Elks volunteers, and so they don't reflect in those numbers. Another thing that VAs would like is an annual joint review where the representative would sit down with the staff and just check in on the year. This is how much we did this year. This went well. I'd like to expand this. That is required for reps at VA facilities. And you'll note when somebody who is a representative at a VA facility gets into their monthly online reports, there will be questions specifically about those two things if it's a VA facility. So your reps will see that being asked about every month. Allocation amounts vary by facility type. Allocations generally increase in increments of 25, but most facilities across the country receive what we call the standard minimum allocations. So that means that every new VA medical center will start out at 175, and that every VA medical center representative across the country receives at least $175 a month. State veterans homes are 150, and all other facility types are 125. These, of course, can vary based on the size of the facility. You'll see that there is one VA medical center that receives $480 a month and one veteran home that receives $465 a month. Just as an example, the veterans home that receives that amount is in California. Nearly 1,000 veterans live there, so they do have a greater need than some of the smaller facilities. But these are not set in stone, so if your volunteers need more, contact our office and we'll help you figure out what to apply for. So every month we send the funds for all of the reps in your state to your designated state official. This is different in every state. Some places it's the veterans chair, some places it's the treasurer, some places it's the secretary. We leave that up to your state. We do this because unfortunately we can't make checks out directly to our representatives. But direct deposit is available for this check, which will get these funds to whoever handles them at your state quicker. So we highly recommend setting that up. And the way we send the same allocation every month for all of the representatives, unless a representative have fallen behind on their reports. If people fall behind, we hold the allocation. So if it's more than a month late, the representative won't receive their funds until they catch up. And that's not that big a deal to fall behind a month or so. Maybe you're on vacation, maybe there's a lot going on. As soon as you catch up on your reports, we'll send the missed allocations up to 3 months. If it's more than 3 months, we won't send more than 3 months allocation. In general, if a representative falls more than 3 months behind on their reports, for us, that is a cause of concern. So we would expect maybe if you see that to call the rep check in on them, make sure they're okay, their health is okay, see what they have going on, and whether they might need a little more support. Representatives must have separate bank accounts. So this would be an account just for the funds we sent. It can't be mixed with other lodge funds, even if it's a lodge fund from a grant or something like that. Banks kind of treat this request differently in different locations and at different branches. So some representatives, especially if they spend most of their funds every month, will set up an account with the name of them and another ELK member, maybe the lodge secretary, maybe the deputy representative. Most representatives will have an account that is separate from the lodge or the state, but that might be tied to the lodge or the state. So maybe the state veterans chair is the second signer on those accounts, or maybe someone at the lodge is, but the funds are kept separately. We have a lot of questions about this, so call us anytime. We're happy to talk to your bank, send letters, help you sort everything out. So don't get overwhelmed. Use us as a resource when it comes to the bank accounts. A quick note about a program we started a few years ago called Boost Grants. These are different from the other grants that we give out because they are not lodge grants. These are grants that are available just for voluntary service representatives. We make them available once a year. Applications are due to our office by February 15th. It's an online application, and the only person that can apply for this is the voluntary service representative, and they can apply to hold an activity at their facility. So for example, as you can see in this, voluntary service reps can generally do this to expand their activities. So say they have some monthly activities that they already fund, that they already hold, but they want to hold additional parties, like a Mardi Gras party posted, photoed here, or they want to try a new activity, take people bowling, but they don't want to cut out, their monthly music that they already provide. So this is a great opportunity for folks to try new things. So say you have a representative or a deputy representative stepping down. We will need your help finding somebody to replace them. To do that, and once you have that person, you will send a form to our office with the person's name, contact information, and the contact information for the facility. You'll need the approval of your state president and your state sponsor, but physical signatures are not required. So what a lot of folks do is they'll send out an email and copy those two individuals and ask for their approval. If you're having trouble finding approvals, let us know. We ask for approvals all the time. We're happy to send reminders and be the person kind of nagging for follow-up, so you don't have to. So keep us in the loop so we can make sure that this gets done. When you have a new volunteer, you want to get them started as quickly as possible. You can also add new facilities to the program. So what we've seen in the last few years is there's been a number of state veterans homes that were under construction for a few years and are finally open. So we've been adding state veterans homes in different states to the program. And so you can submit another form for this for approval twice a year. Applications for this are due February 1st and June 15th. When you're proposing a new facility, we do expect that you and the local representative talk to the facility, tell them about our program, kind of figure out what the role for the ELKs will be there, and make sure that there is a role for the ELKs. A lot of folks will think like, oh, great, they can just write us a check every month, but you want to make sure that there's volunteer opportunities. Another note here is something to watch out for is high account balances. So when you can see your representative's reports every month, you can see this person isn't really spending as much money as they should be every month to meet these veterans' needs. Sometimes that can be a flag that, maybe the volunteer doesn't have the time that they used to have to be a representative. Generally, we recommend that accounts should have $1,000 or less in them. We know before Christmas or Veterans Day or, sometimes during Hospitals Week in February, people will save up money so they can provide more support. But we don't want these accounts just collecting money. The money should be going out to serve veterans every month, not to be saving them. So I threw a lot of information at you, but links to all of the information that I referenced today are available on this State Veterans Chair dashboard. So if you go to elks.org/vets, you'll find a link to this dashboard right there. And if you're registered as the Veterans Chair for your state, you'll automatically have access. So all of the forms that I mentioned are linked there. You can also view all of the voluntary service reports submitted by volunteers in your state every month on here. So you can see as soon as a report is approved by our office, you can go in and click on it and view it. You can even click on that little square next to view a PDF if you want to save a copy for your records or share the information. So this is a great way for you to find out what's going on at all of the facilities in your state anytime. So that is all I'm going to say for now, so you're not overwhelmed. Thank you so much for stepping up to do this, to serve veterans, and for taking on this volunteer role. Feel free to reach out to our office anytime. We are happy to help and excited to have you.